911 Calls podcast with the operator.
You know what's funny about home invasions? Nothing. But since I started writing the script with that sentence, let me try to shoehorn in something that makes sense. So, you know what's funny about home invasions is, well, that they're usually committed by strangers. People who don't belong there. People who haven't memorized which floorboard creaks when you step on it at 2 a.m., trying to sneak to the kitchen for that leftover root beer you've been thinking about since dinner. You'd think that a lot more home invasions would be committed by family or friends. Well, today we're going to discuss a case that challenges everything I thought I knew about family dynamics and teenage angst and the devastating impacts of two simple words. Welcome home. But before we dive in, let me paint a picture of Palm Bay, Florida for you. Now, if you're thinking, oh great, another Florida story, well, this one doesn't involve a Florida man or even a Florida woman. But a teen? This one's got Florida teen smeared all over the walls. Palm Bay sits in Brevard County. Brevard. About an hour southeast of Orlando. Orlando. It's the kind of place where people move to escape the tourist chaos of Disney World, only to discover that Florida's particular brand of chaos follows you everywhere. Fun fact, Palm Bay was originally named Tillman, after the first postmaster who served the area. Who cares, you might be asking? Good point. Moving on. But what is relevant is what happened in this seemingly ordinary suburb on July 7th, 2024, when a 16-year-old teenager would transform a simple welcome home greeting into something more like, let's play a game. Kelly McCollum was a 38-year-old mother navigating the challenges of parenting a teenager while managing a relationship with a younger partner. Known for her unique flair, Kelly held on to a zest for life that was simultaneously a source of admiration and contention in her family and amongst her friends. In my head, I picture Kelly being kind of like a birthday balloon that has a static cling charge to it, so it keeps getting attracted to your head no matter where you are in the room. You know, bright and bubbly, but sometimes just, come on, take a beat, you know? Her relationship with 22-year-old Matthew Zenrock raised eyebrows, particularly those of her daughter, Julia. Despite external judgments, Kelly's persistent, positive outlook prevailed, most of the time. Kelly's relationship with her daughter, Julia, was as complex as any parent-teen dynamic usually is. One major sticking point was Kelly's efforts to understand and support Julia's desire for a gender transition, which placed additional stresses on an already challenging relationship, often leaving her caught between traditional views that she held and the ever-changing world of identity issues faced by today's youth a lot of the time. Matthew Zenrock, as I mentioned, born May 31st, 2002 in New Jersey, was a 22-year-old attempting to carve a new path after personal loss. His move to Florida in 2022 was prompted by a desire for a fresh start following the death of his mother, Dawn, due to COVID complications. Known for his infectious laughter and kind-hearted nature, Matthew's spirit epitomized resilience even in the face of many of life's trials. He was depicted in his obituary as someone who loved nature, touched everyone he encountered, a testament to his ability to connect with others on a profound level. Yes, I said obituary, but don't worry, you still won't see this one coming. He certainly didn't. Matthew and Kelly, despite an age gap of nearly 16 years, the relationship between Kelly McCollum and Matthew Zenrock was marked by an unusual blend of youthful energy and mature companionship. Kelly's vivacious nature found a kindred spirit in the younger Matthew. This, perhaps, is why their partnership blossomed swiftly and intensely, filling each other's existence with mutual curiosity and joy. Their union, while notably harmonious, wasn't devoid of challenges, though. Kelly's life as a single mother added some more layers of complexity, as balancing her roles between partner and parent required meticulous coordination, something akin to juggling flaming torches on a tightrope over a pit of alligators, 'cause Florida, right? Yet Matthew's presence added this kind of youthful perspective, alleviating some of those burdens by introducing moments of levity during Kelly's more strenuous parenting episodes. Matthew, having relocated from New Jersey in search of a new beginning, brought an element of spontaneity into Kelly's regimented world, a refreshing jolt that she both needed and cherished. He, on the other hand, found solace in Kelly's unwavering warmth and maturity, two qualities he deeply missed since his mother's passing. It's safe to say that they created a unique rhythm in their household, filled with late-night kitchen dances and ghost stories shared under the dim glow of the living room lamp. However, a shadow loomed over their relationship in the form of Julia. Her perception of Matthew saw him as an interloper rather than an ally, casting his very presence as an obstacle in her relationship with her mom. These tensions simmered beneath the surface, often resulting in subtle confrontations where both Kelly and Matthew attempted to bridge the divide, albeit unsuccessfully. Ultimately, the delicate balance of love and conflict defined the foundation of Matthew and Kelly's relationship. They treasured the moments they shared, used hope. Gosh dang it. They treasured the moments they shared, used hope to weather small storms, and their laughter inspired one another, despite the discord woven by the circumstances that were outside of their control. Julia Grace Egler's story is woven with the threads of adolescent turbulence, punctuated with an exploration into the identity that she was working to solidify. At 16, Julia grappled with the challenges of defining herself amid the backdrop of family dynamics that could be simultaneously loving and imbued with misunderstanding. Gender transition became a poignant part of her identity journey, a process layered with personal discovery, feelings of sheer incompatibility with the world around her, and her sensing of external judgment from those around her. Both mother and daughter had taken deep issue with the other, one for the journey to find herself, and the other for who they had found along their journey. Regardless, both had their heels dug in. Julie's academic pursuits and social interactions would occasionally provide relief from her turbulent home life, yet the need to reconcile her identity with family expectations bore down heavily, a weight that became increasingly unbearable. The tragic events of July 7th, 2024 would be where the gauntlet finally fell, tearing family ties and lives and loves asunder for good. We've all been teenagers before, the roller coaster emotions, how everything from the music we listened to the latest text message stoked the seemingly endless flood of feelings in our still developing brains. The angst, the feelings that nobody understands you. At one point in my youth, I got rid of all the color in my room except black, white, and a touch of red. Took down all the Morrissey posters and filled my walls with framed prints of M.C. Escher drawings. But if we're a typical teen, which no teen believes that they are, but they are, Most of us just wrote bad poetry about it or posted cryptic song lyrics on social media. But once in a while, the rage of hormones in some teens is replaced by jet fuel. Some sort of Jekyll and Hyde truth serum where all of the signs and signals that their teeny bopped synapses produce are translated as absolute and unchanging truth. The days and nights of teen angst, age-agnostic lovers, and domestic strife had galumphed for this family into an evening in early July. July 6th, 2024 to be precise. A typical sultry evening in Palm Bay, Florida. The air's thick. The insects thrum in the night with their defiant thrumming. Kelly McCollum and her boyfriend, Matthew Zenrock, arrived home around 10:34 p.m. And what could be more romantic than coming back to your cozy abode after an evening out? More time to come closer together or to push the boundaries of your relationship with hard-hitting questions like, is pineapple on pizza a cardinal sin, or whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie? You know, the kind of questions that lock in or potentially jettison an unbeliever before a major commitment is made. Date night, in this case, was a success. Pineapple on pizza is a delicacy, and ho 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 should always be preambled with yippee-ki-yay, mother. But unbeknownst to Kelly and Matthew, another all too familiar phrase was about to be uttered in their living room. Welcome home. A phrase so mundane and full of familiarity, it's like the sorry for your loss of every Hallmark card ever written. Only this time, it held far darker implications. At approximately 12:06 a.m., mere hours after Kelly and Matthew returned, a 911 call set the dial tone for this ordinary Palm Bay home. The caller, Julia Grace Egler, a 16-year-old with a flair for drama that would make any high school theater director proud, or, you know, horrified. Here we go.
He broke into the house and I didn't have time to grab the phone, so I...
Do you know who the man is?
I'm like, no, I don't know who it was.
Is he still in there?
I don't think so. I waited. I hid in my room for like a really long time. I don't even know how long it's been.
Okay, you've asked for how long it's been.
I'm not sure.
What did he look like?
It's hard to remember, but I think he had, like, I don't know, like, he was normal height, I guess. If I had to guess, maybe like 5'8", I don't know. And
is he black, white, Hispanic?
I'm not sure. I think I didn't really look that good. I only got like...
What did he do once he got into your house?
Well, there was... I don't think the door was locked, but I don't think he knew that there was a hammer by the back. And,
was it your hammer, or did they bring it with them?
It was just the house hammer. It was just by the back.
Never know.
It was just by the back. And they grabbed, I think, they thought the sound, they grabbed it and broke in the window.
They broke the window with a hammer that you already had in your yard?
Yeah, with the glass.
Okay, take a deep breath. You haven't heard them in a while, right? Was there only one person that you saw?
That I saw, yeah. There was one person.
Okay, and where are you in the house right now?
I'm just in the living room.
Okay, we already have help on the way, so just take a deep breath, okay?
My mom, I think I heard...
We have officers coming. Hey, take a deep breath. The people that you're hearing, we have 2 officers there, okay? They'll usually check outside first, so you might see flashlights. They'll probably come to the door and knock here in a little bit. It's okay. You still have your dogs with you?
They're just still in my room. I didn't let them out because I didn't want them getting blood all over their paws.
Right. Well, did you say blood all over their paws?
Yeah, 'cause...
Is there blood inside your house?
Yes.
Whose blood is it? Is it your blood or is it the person who broke in blood? Are you injured?
No, I'm fine.
You're fine?
No,
So
I'm fine.
it's the person who broke in. It's their blood? Where is it at?
No, I don't know if it's their blood or not, but I don't think it's theirs. It's my mom. From what I heard when I was hiding in my room, I could afford her to call my fault.
Okay, so Julia reports a home invasion, claiming an intruder broke in while she heroically hid with her 2 loyal dogs. And this is where the plot thickens. The chilling irony? The unknown intruder wasn't some shadowy figure gallivanting through the neighborhood. It was right under their very noses, or rather, calling from inside the house in true horror movie fashion. As Julia wove her tale of terror, seasoned dispatchers picked up on a slip that would unravel her intricate web of deception. You see, Julia mentioned not wanting her dogs to get, quote, blood all over their paws, end quote, cue dramatic music, or perhaps more appropriately, the sound of a collective uh-oh from our dispatcher, because why would a terrified teenager concealed in a closet, supposedly unaware of what had happened, jump to the conclusion about whose blood it might be, or that there'd be blood at all? Strangely enough, though, the clues didn't stop there, and if you're a magnet for red flags, you might be picking up on them now. The crime scene revealed a treasure trove of contradictions. So, let's put a lens on that crime scene. Blue and red flashlights illuminate a quiet street, setting the stage for the night to unravel its secrets. In the early hours following Julia's 911 call, officers arrived at what was supposed to be just another routine investigation, a break-in that turned deadly. However, what they discovered inside would be anything but routine. As they entered, the atmosphere was thick with contradiction. A home invasion implied chaos, yet the scene was meticulously staged. It didn't take long for detectives to realize something was amiss beyond the unsettling quiet that settled over the crime scene. First, let's chew over the physical details. A .38 special revolver discreetly tucked beneath Julia's bedroom window, likely expecting never to be found. A chef's knife resting ominously on the bathroom counter, bloodied and stark against the sterile porcelain. But the kicker? Glass shards from a shattered sliding door lay conspicuously atop the victims' bodies. Kelly and Matthew, hinting that the glass was broken long after tragedy struck. Julia's story, a tapestry of deception, began to fray at its seams. Detectives also found blood trails that mapped an unsettling tour throughout the entire residence, tracing back to the true nature of the evening's events. And those footprints in the blood tracks, as unique as a snowflake, if snowflakes wore size 8 Chuck Taylor Converse. Tracks that strictly belonged to our dear Julia. Inconsistencies don't just emerge like mosquitoes at a backyard gender reveal. They swarm, more like a gender party protest. Details like these crystallize into a portrait of reality where truth becomes difficult to mask. And in this case, The truth was poised to puncture Julia's carefully constructed alibi, like a well-placed pin to a balloon. What complicates this narrative is the eerie precision with which events unfolded. Julia had prepped as if for a play, ensuring the crime scene resembled a break-in attempt gone horribly awry. Her 911 call, played with theatrical panic, masked an intricate plot so entirely it almost succeeded. Yet, as any good playwright knows, the climax in this case is inevitable, ignited by a slip, a confession kink that untangles the narrative, revealing the core mechanics of the deceit beneath. Julia's mention of blood on the dog's paws was precisely that kink. It signaled the start of her confession, a confession with its own darkness, weaving right through her strained relationship and compounded grievances. So, you see, the scene was set, the players revealed, and the narrative arc took on its descent toward uncovering the truth. However, in the world of true crime, unveiling the truth rarely leads to a resolution. Afterwards, it's the reverberations and those ripple effects of that truth impacting lives and communities that really demand contemplation. And with these foundational pieces in place, I've prepared you for the next chapter in this damning domestic drama, Julia's confession and what lay beneath her unraveling facade. The interrogation room, a sterile space where truth is both demanded and feared. Here, Julia found herself after the facade began to crumble. At this moment, her narrative, previously held together by threads of desperation and deflection, began to unwind. After initially maintaining her fabricated story of an intruder, Julia's resolve faltered. The weight of the lie began to buckle under the clarity of irrefutable evidence stacked against her. It was during this high-stakes conversation with Palm Bay police that she acknowledged what detectives now suspected plainly, that the perpetrator of the crime was the one claiming victimhood. Julia's confession revealed a web of hurt, resentment, and psychological turmoil. The expression boiling point barely scratches the surface here. This was an emotional avalanche triggered by unchecked grievances and unresolved fears. It became apparent that Julia's actions were not simply born out of a moment's impulse, but were the climax of simmering conflicts. Central to Julia's grievances were the clashes concerning her gender transition. Positioned opposite Kelly's traditional outlook, the tension was palpable. Every disagreement, however minor, added another layer of combustion to Julia's internal conflict, further complicating her adolescent identity crisis. Moreover, Matthew Zenrock's involvement with Kelly was perceived by Julia as an intrusion into her familial space. Julia felt displaced, her sense of belonging obliterated by Matthew's presence. This dual burden of feeling unseen by her mother, combined with her animosity towards Matthew, brewed chaos beneath her increasingly confused demeanor. This confession peeled back layers of Julia's psyche, offered an unvarnished view into how interwoven complexities of identity, acceptance, and familial relationships turned tragically fatal in this case. Though these crimes remain indefensible, acknowledging the tangled web of tensions at play provides a more nuanced understanding of the narrative. That night, when Julia uttered "Welcome Home" under its haunting cadence, lay unspoken emotions wrapped in hurt, a desperate plea for attention swathed in a forced demonstration of power. Kelly McCollum's demise came swiftly and with deliberation. Julia, armed with a .38 special revolver, delivered multiple gunshot wounds to her mother. Each gunshot was a grim punctuation to the deep-seated tensions and misunderstandings that had simmered between mother and daughter. The chaos intensified with Matthew Zenrock's attempt to escape the immediate danger. Running from Julia as she viciously gunned down her own mother, he hid in a bathroom, a place that would ultimately trap him, not shield him from the violence that Julia planned to inflict upon him. In a frantic plea for his life, he was met not with mercy but with further violence. Julia, wielding a chef's knife, inflicted multiple stab wounds upon him, an assault driven by a volatile blend of rage and desperation. She ended her attack with a fatal gunshot wound, marking the grim conclusion to Matthew's attempt at self-preservation. The wounds documented on both victims paint a picture of an ambush fueled by emotion and meticulously staged malice. According to Julia's eventual confession, the murders were not spontaneous acts, but rather the culmination of growing resentment and unresolved familial conflict. The preliminary staging of the scene as a break-in highlights Julia's initial intent to evade detection, a facade that quickly crumbled under not too much scrutiny and then unfurled later in front of a judge. In July 2024, as Julia awaited trial, the courtroom was being prepared to become the battleground for evaluating the gravity of actions set against her. Although every teen would like to believe that their view on life is always life or death, in this case there really isn't much to defend against the evidence and the results of her vicious rage. But the court can be a place for legal creativity, so it hasn't been all open and shut. On August 6, 2024, a Brevard County grand jury indicted Julia Egler on 2 murder counts. Given the severity of the crime and the premeditated elements unveiled in Julia's confession, the decision was made to prosecute her as an adult, a move that was met with controversy. She's ineligible for the death penalty due to her age under U.S. Supreme Court rulings and Florida law. Shortly after the indictment, though, Julia was transferred from juvenile detention to Brevard County Jail. It brought to the foreground discussions on that thin line of argument separating youthful indiscretion from adult accountability in matters of life-altering consequences. I might argue that a double murder amounting to parricide and snuffing out the life of a man begging for his life doesn't fit within the category of youthful discretion. I'd reserve that for things like toilet papering a house, or getting the volleyball team pregnant, or Jenko jeans. Prosecutors during the indictment leveraged an abundance of evidence, from the forensic confirmation of the murder weapons to the clear contradictions within Julia's initial account. The defense, navigating the challenge of representing a teenager charged with such grave acts, attempted to offer context through another, less evidence-based lens, a glimpse into a mind overwhelmed. Is that where we're at in society, where the defense can play a she was overwhelmed angle and pepper in some social bugaboos and banks on us all to be uncomfortable enough that they think we won't cancel this girl's freedom? That's a clown world defense, in my opinion, but in truth, they didn't have much else to work with. Julia had done a really good job of zeroing out any semblance of innocence based on the crime scene evidence and her 911 call. However, even though this was technically an adult being indicted, the fact that it involved a teenager still offered some healthy juxtaposition between the legal narratives. In particular, how mental health, emotional development, and social context are considered in relation to the actions defined by law. We all know the script. It's just a big, goopy courtroom stage play of contradicting forces. She should be able to make her own decisions. She was stifled. She knows her truth. Her mother had a sheltered view on modern society. She's also confused. Scientifically, her brain is far from being fully developed. What about outside influences? How could she be expected to process the dynamics of an adult relationship playing out in front of her tender, youthful eyes? How could she be expected to channel her rage appropriately? She's just a child. You know, just straightforward yet distractingly emotional, logical, factual, scientifically based, yet completely subjective sets of arguments, prepared to cater to every diverse heartstring, hoping that either emotion outweighs logic or logic outweighs emotion. Pick your side. Heck, nowadays either one could win. Despite the in-depth examination of details and the presence of seemingly irrefutable evidence, the case against Julia Egler remains emblematic of a system grappling with moral dilemmas as much as legal ones. The trial sits in limbo right now. The trial's outcome, regardless of its nature, will lead to broader reflections that extend far beyond the sentence handed down. In the auditory corridors of history, the 911 call, the confession, and Julia's fractured narratives remain potent reminders of a complex tragedy, one not easily categorized or explained away in today's society or in today's courts. No trial date has been set, and there have been no public reports of an arraignment, plea entry, or other significant court proceedings since the indictment in August of 2024. Egler remains in custody without bond at Brevard County Jail. Some of you may be like me, and when a trial like this stalls in the court, my "who's looking to get elected" radar goes off. But in this case, after a deep dive into the state attorney's office and public defense, judges and chief judges, it looks like nobody would be toying with this case for political gain or to avoid any political fallout. There's no evidence that I can find of intentional delay linked to upward mobility. It looks like it's just good old-fashioned legal eagling. High-profile first-degree murder cases like this often can take 12 to 24 months or longer from indictment to trial due to standard procedural steps such as arraignment and discovery, also known as evidence exchange, pre-trial motions like suppression of confession, competency evaluations, plea negotiations, and even jury selection. However, there is nuance to this case in particular. The gender transition motive and juvenile status do add layers, potentially requiring expert witnesses on mental health or family dynamics, which can extend timelines. So there you have it. And there you don't have it. Yet. How about a happy ending? What happens when a husband is drunk but has warrants and his wife is drunk and they're both insufferable? Also, they crashed their car into a tree, and both of them say that the other one was driving. This happy ending is what happens when that happens. It's a journey through idiocy, and the level of idiocy that only seems to bloom after last call on a dark road with no obstacles in sight except for severely inhibited judgment and a really big ego. Enjoy.
What's going on?
She was driving.
I wasn't driving.
Yeah, you were.
No, I wasn't.
Okay, sir, step over here. Sir, step over here. Where you at? 30, I got a male running. He's running through the parking lot. Okay, he just ran behind the building. Are you injured, ma'am?
I'm actually a physician.
Who's driving the car?
My husband.
You want to have an ambulance come take a look at you?
No, I'm a physician.
Okay, but that doesn't mean you can't be hurt.
Get bent.
Don't move. You're being a goofball, dude. Just come talk to me. Yeah, he's going east. It's going to take him a minute. He's going through a lot of brush. Hey, this is going to suck for you. He goes, fuck you.
Like, what do you guys want?
You're running through the forest bloody, running from the cops, and there's a car crash with a chick in it.
She was driving.
Okay, so why are you running?
Because I'm already in trouble. Like, I don't need no trouble.
Trouble from what?
Whatever. You guys, whatever. Do what you gotta do. Like, let's not make this a big deal.
Can someone take me home?
Well, I can't take you home until we get your husband.
What the does that have to do with me? That's gross. I need to call a lawyer right now to take me home.
If you,
So
you
I'll
can call
do that.
whoever you
All
want.
right, fine. He's a cop, and I would like to just be taken home.
Who's a cop?
You.
What does that have to do with anything?
I trump your ass.
In what? In what way?
Medicine! What do you think, asshole? You're a fucking chubby ass pig. And you know what? We're allowed to say that.
It makes you feel better about yourself?
Fucking my shit up. And you're talking smack to me?
I'm not talking any smack. You're the one calling me names.
What the f is wrong with you?
Nothing.
This is fucked. This is fucked.
Did she leave?
Yeah, she walked away.
Oh, have a good night, ma'am.
This is a little carried away. It is carried away because you're running through the forest making us look for you.
You're hurt. If you're hurt, you call an ambulance. You don't run through the forest causing all this bullshit for no fucking reason.
Yeah, because I don't want her to get in trouble.
We're all adults. We all know what happens when we drink and drive and crash the car.
Honestly, everybody, man to man, we went to high school together, we all make mistakes. Be real with me, please.
I'm real with you. You're under arrest.
You went through the same thing.
Absolutely not. Do not try to compare me to you.
I had to cover for her. I can't have her get in trouble.
Okay, well, she still might be in trouble and you're still going to jail. You didn't prevent anything. You just made a circus out of it.
Bro, can you treat me like I'm a human?
I'm trying to. If you would stop being a fuck jag-off, I would.
I used to watch these cop cam vids hoping that the more that were released, the more of a teaching moment the world would have about the effects of alcohol. But the alcohol keeps flowing and dumb people keep dumbing. I hope she didn't lose her job as a, what'd she say? Oh yeah, physician? And I would guess that his arrest will probably affect his job, wherever that is. I mean, she's a doctor, so maybe he doesn't work. Maybe he's just in charge of driving her drunk, overinflated head around. And finally, I've noticed that a few 100,000 of you have never checked out the extra episodes and content that I've been making over these many years. There's less of an excuse than ever with the now available Plus episodes being uploaded to Spotify. There's a link in the description, or just hit up the podcast feed to find the episodes with the little padlocks on them. It's not that I want to keep content behind lock and key as much as this is how I pay my bills. Maybe you have avoided Patreon this long, and now it's time for you to be an independent woman. You don't need no man telling you what you can and can't do with your money. Except maybe you need one man who asks you to spend a little on him. Come on, sugar mama. This date's been a free meal for years. And now that I've made this creepy, I'll bid you adieu. I have more content from the library to upload to the new Spotify subscription. That's right. You need a man who's consistent, who caresses your earballs with compassion and content. Okay, gross. I'm done. I mean, unless you haven't finished yet. Okay, bye. Hugs, everybody.
This has been the 911 Calls podcast with you know who.